Charmaine, peace and freedom. Nini, welcome. I'm Reverend Queen Mother Imaku, and it's my pleasure to be with you here on another Sunday where we have gone through quite a lot here in the United States as a country. A lot of us have gone through a lot individually. And the last message I left for you all last week had to do with paying attention to history, tradition, and community. Well, we're going to be addressing all of those again, but in a different way, and breaking down the understanding of KHNUM, also known as Kenemu, what he brings, what to expect, also how to examine from the past, and also to find inspiration for today and the future. We are not helpless, we are not hopeless. And please visit my website at www.imakhu.info. Also, please go to Shenu Living at shenuliving.com. It's SHENULIVING.com. As you're coming in, please make sure that you share, chime in to let me know that you're here. And I'm going to be completely honest. I was going to wait until a few more people came. Let me just say this now as I'm working my way to better health. The last time that I was on, I alluded to something about all the times that I had had walking pneumonia. Well, I actually talked about that. But at the time, I was feeling like, I think I have walking pneumonia. But I'm going to try not to focus on that, and so I pushed through, and I had my days where I was just absolutely just ripped up. And then days where I was just like, okay, let's go. And then next day it's just like, but so finally had a chance to have a consultation with my doctor, and yeah, I have walking pneumonia again. But here's the amazing thing. Out of all the times that I've had it, I've never been in this good of health. Usually I'm laid out, like I had told you last week, for like weeks at a time, whether it's regular pneumonia, walking pneumonia, or bronchitis. And this time I've been able to function. And I know a lot of that has to do with one, thankfully for the fact that I have friends who are healers. Thank you to Brother Elijah and to Sister Eve. If you're watching, thank you for your love, for your care, for your healing, for your looking out for your auntie, for your elder, and also to Brother Nello, who made sure to stop by and bring me some things to hook me up. And see, this also was a time when I reached out and asked for help. I did do a lot of work on asking for help through therapy, because I got to a place where I became very isolated, and I just figured out, okay, I'll just stick it out, I'll suffer it out. But when you have people around you who care and who are willing to help you, and especially if you have done things to help them, then it's important to understand the reciprocal cycle that goes along with that. And so to all of you who have known about the fact that I'm still dealing with some challenges, thank you. For those of you who are finding out now, please continue to pray for me. And so, listen, please share that I am on the air. Please click like if you are on YouTube. Please click a heart if you are on Facebook, and also make sure to subscribe on both YouTube and Facebook. On my fan page on Facebook, it is facebook.com/Imakhu, IMAKHU. At YouTube, it is at Imakhu. Okay? All right. Before I go any further, how is everyone? I know that this has been a really trying week. And by the way, I also want to say I know that some of you did not see the flyer or the meme. This is online, it's a meme. For today, we will be doing communion again because I feel as though it's necessary. And so here is the meme for today. Brandon, how are you? It's good to see you as always. KHNUM, I got you. And so we will be doing our Eucharist at the end, our Comedic Eucharist. So please get yourself ready. And if you can, just grab a red beverage. You don't need much, just a dab will do you, and a little piece of bread, so that we can conclude with our Eucharist. And let's see what else I wanted to share. Yes, checking in. How is everybody? What are your thoughts? Oh my goodness, it's so good to see you. Please let me know how you're doing with your health. Sister Candy, okay? It's so good to see you. Oh no, okay, so sorry. I'm on my schedule. I have it set up so that things that are happening a week ahead and a few days ahead come up. And so I appreciate that. But right now I need to put it on do not disturb. Okay. How is everybody after the election? Let's be honest. Let's talk real, okay? Because I know that there are people who are upset on both sides for various reasons. But here we are. And acknowledging how you feel is all important. In Kemetic culture, they believed in acknowledging how you feel and not being in denial. There's no healthiness in that. There's nothing healthy about denying, okay? So also grab your water, okay? And perhaps it's a good idea to start out with a meditation. I think that may be a good thing. Let's do a quick meditation where we can check in with ourselves and let me know how is the sound. Can you hear me okay? And also, let's center ourselves, surround ourselves in an orb of light. Find some wonderful, relaxing music. Here's my favorite. How is the sound? Turn down just a little bit. It's good? Okay. Thanks, Brandon. Wow. Okay. Get yourself in a nice, relaxed position. And okay. I greatly look forward to meditation, and I end my evening with meditation. I wake up with meditation. Getting yourself centered and being able to really focus on what you're thinking, what you're feeling is a good thing. I know with many meditation practices, they teach you to let go of everything. But in this case, you want to be able to observe because you don't want to run from whatever you might be feeling. You want to take a good look at it, see why it's there, see how you feel. Okay? Okay. See yourself encircled in a beautiful orb of white, gold, silver, lavender light. Know you are divinely protected. Know that you are loved. Know that you matter. Know that your voice matters. Know that you have a purpose. And as we pull beautiful golden light into Kheri, the crown of our head, receiving from on high, and golden because that reflects what our characters should ideally be. Purity, shimmery, exemplary. Inhale, Sarek. Nifa. Sarek. Nifa. Sarek. Nifa. Relax your breathing. Now pulling the energy down into your brow, a deep indigo color. The ultimate place of facing yourself, owning your intuitive abilities, owning what you see, even for the times when you don't want to see, but knowing that it is a blessing when you are able to see and distinguish, a gift of discernment. Sarek, Nifa, Sarek, Nifa, Sarek, Nifa. Relax your breathing. And now bringing the energy down into your throat. A beautiful royal blue. Speaking truth, manifestation, being on your throne. Yehu chest, self-control. Revealing the beauty of your heart by what you say. Sadek. Nifa. Sadek. Nifa. Sadek. Nifa. Relax your breathing. Moving down into the heart, your chest, a vibrant green, the place of love, the place of community, the place of devotion, self-love, understanding your place within the wider vision of things, abundance, healing. Sadek, Nifa. Sadek, Nifa. Sadek, Nifa. Relax your breathing. And now, moving from Hat, or also known as Ib, to Sunkti, the solar plexus, vibrant yellow, clarity, revelation, balanced sense of self, the will divinely aligned, overcoming, courage, the healing energies of the sun. Sadek, Nifa. Sadek, Nifa. Sadek, Nifa. Relax your breathing. Take a moment right now to think about all the times you've been brave in seemingly impossible, insurmountable circumstances. You were able to muster up the courage and the strength to overcome. This exists within you now. It existed within you before, and it will be with you for everything you need to move forward in your future. And now moving down to the area of procreation, Wusekrer, a beautiful shiny copper color. Joy, creation, partnering with people who are healthy playmates, also those who are healthy in community, who will help you and who you can help to accomplish goals. Allowing yourself to be happy and manifesting through joy. Sadek. Nifa. Sadek. Nifa. Sadek. Nifa. Relax your breathing. And now moving it down into the tailbone, your legs, your feet. Rud, a vibrant red color, the root. Your foundation, the programming of your people to you, of who you are. Lineage, culture, tradition, stability. And Sadek. Nifa. Sadek. Nifa. Last time, Sadek. Nifa. Relax your breathing. Now sending down all of the negative energy into the earth. The earth can absorb it and transmute it for its own healing and for yours. Feel yourself safely cocooned in your orb, your KHNUM of light. You carry that spark of divinity within you. Connecting with that divine force without will awaken that divine force within. When I count down from 10 to 1, we'll leave the beauty of our meditative space in our minds and bring it all back into the presence of the now in the room you're sitting in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes. How's everyone? And give thanks. Okay. Let's take a moment and open the way, and we'll have some water soon to refresh ourselves after that time and space of centering and relaxation. Ooh, I need to send it myself. Okay, and let me remind you to please share. Thank you so much for being here. And let's begin by opening the way. How's everyone? Okay. I'm going to do the shorter opening today. Yunharech beset, Yunharek besu, Sechnis ekeb cheb saeng. Barakani, ek yuni yunum katni, bak katni, bak besu nebu in hetni. Yunani beset besu nefer iwadu nefer nebu. Wep wat beset im wepti. Dini de benea. Bak kerkeruni. Beheni besu em besa. Behen besu hetni. Ujak redi I hauni I sensenui. Uja I Bahen bet yuni em bahenek. Sebeshpet yuni. Seben bet yuni. Semi bak ank nefer. Yun wadi nefer nebu eni. Uteb keti I pekti metetni. Duani beset I besu duau. Enk, enk, enk. Please take your water. I've got my pretty cup here again today. My Dollar Tree special for $1.25. Nukpu nukku, amiku, kemam keperum nechurhau. Nukwa em enu enku amuku, anku jasenen. I am that I am, a shining being who dwells in light, who came into existence through the limbs of the Creator. I am one of those shining beings who dwells in light. Life, health, strength. Nukwebenu per emnu mutnipu. I am the sacred plant that grows from Nu. My mother is Nut. Webni, and speak into your water. Webni, cleanse me. Wujani, heal me. Hekni, guide me. Jedni, speak to me. Anuk sejamen, I am listening. Duau, many thanks. Enk, enk, enk. And now speak beautiful words into the water. Anuk neferet, I am good, beautiful, and successful. Anuk mer, I am love. Anuk merit, I am beloved. Anuk sekemet, I am powerful. Kenika, I have focus. Tani, my world, pu neferet. My world is good, beautiful, and successful. Nutni, anukardi. No, pu ardi. My neighborhood is safe. Nefer and beautiful. Duau. Anukardi, I am safe. Anuk I am safe. Anuk I am safe. Anukwe emwe. I am one with the one. And let's drink. Let's pour libation to our ancestors. If you all recall, the oracle message that we had at the beginning of this Kemetic New Year concerned ancestors and also Rayet. Rayet, who is the light of Ray, but even stronger, like 10 times stronger, but also more brilliance, more light to reveal the truth. Okay? Blinding light, but healing light. And ancestors, remembering to hearken to our ancient traditions, our ancient practices, wisdom of our ancestors, what worked, also looking at what did not work and what we need to incorporate into our lives on a regular basis, such as pouring libation in order to remember our ancestors on the regular and to have the discipline in doing that kesu, that ceremony, but also remembering to stay connected. I was in a group the other day where someone said, "Oh, that's antiquated. We need to come up with some other solutions." You know, all of that stuff. Talk of ancestors. We're not our ancestors, and you know, we need to just do something else. I was livid. And also, it made me realize, you know what, maybe I don't need to be in this group anymore because for somebody to say that, you know, what I was all the talk that I've done about Shanu and who's in your circle and making sure you're around people who have similar thoughts, who are going to be able to support you and you are able to support them. But if you do not have the same ethical, moral core point of view, something as crucial as that, in my mind, it shows a divorcing of the ways. And also in African traditional religions, it's a recipe for failure. To divorce yourself from your ancestors, that's like saying, let me just cut off my leg and my arm. We need our ancestors. We need their whisperings. We need to continue to hearken to their wisdom. Look, we're at a time where people are forgetting our history, even recent history, and making decisions based on what they don't know or what they choose to ignore. In remembering our ancestors, we are remembering that we have lineage. We are remembering that we have power and we have ability, and that we have those who are working for us in the other realm in ways that we cannot see, but that we must trust. Give thanks. What a blessing, what a blessing, what a blessing. To the ancients, to the ancestors, we follow your footsteps. Erdanuku, Erdnuku, Ishkanu, Keru Renuechanu. You give us light, we give you light. We pour libation to you, we speak your name. And so now begin by naming out loud in your space the names of your ancestors, starting with your mother's side, the matrilineal, and then going to the paternal side. I want to say maternal side and paternal side. And just take a moment to just say thank you. Simmons, Blackman, Pridgeon, Exum, give thanks and praise. Whitley, Aldridge, Anderson, Ortiz, Lloyd, Yates, McLaughlin, Myers, Murray, Mosley, Salmon, Ely, Clyburn, Mayfield. Duau, Mudupwe, many thanks, many thanks, many thanks. Let us never forget where we came from, the strides that our ancestors made and their ancestors, and our strides in this lifetime, and the example that we hope to set for those who are coming up behind us. May we not forget. And let me take a moment also to honor the life force of Ray. Dware haftue benef, emma kerab dead and pet, anacharakitim kepri kemanicheru, heikwe benek, pesin mutek, heiktiam suten necheru, erinek mutnut, erius, erit, nini duare, heftue benef, emma kerab dead and pet, enk, enk, enk. Okay. All right. How's everybody? I'm going to take a moment to share because I saw that there was some problem in the hookup with the Restream stream on some of the platforms. And so I just need to be able to share into some of those pages that usually this goes into. Technology is something you have to keep up with, but always be grateful that we have it and we want to make sure that we don't abuse it either. And we're about to get into our message. For those of you who have followed for a while, you're aware of the lessons regarding KHNUM, but we're going to take a different look at KHNUM, his story, and how it applies to us in a new way, given what we've just gone through. Okay. All right, I just need to be able to share really quickly. There we go. Okay. And yeah, just a few for now. Okay. All right. So let me share with you, before I get into the message, what my feelings were regarding the election. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Months ago, before our vice president even threw her hat into the ring, I remember having talks with some of my colleagues in what, from the activist groups that I belong in. I'm talking politics like all the time, social, community stuff, and then politics, because this all affects our world. And as a Kemetic faith practitioner who believes very much in the faculty of Herukuti, the doubly awakened Heru, it is all contingent upon Eri, your action and intention with Ib, for how you act in the world, what you bring to the world, and also you're being aware of what's happening. Neches, that is truly awakened, being awakened. People are using the term woke, but the original term was, or neches or nechast, which means to be awakened. It also means resurrection. Because once you come to a new place of understanding, once you see things differently, then you experience a rebirth. And you can make a choice to go back to pretending that you didn't see what you saw, that you don't understand the place that you're at now, the things that were not evident to you, but now it's glaring. with the energy of Rayat, the energy of the sun, and you can either go back into selective blindness, or you can do something to change your world. Doing something to change your world is what is ideal. So therefore, I'm having conversations all the time about what's happening in my world, in my newer community, in terms of politics, also social things and so forth. And so, of course, with the election, we were talking about, so who can possibly be the candidate, since it seems as though Biden can't carry this forward. And so the name of Kamala Harris came up, seems to take natural choice, right? But I remember saying very clearly back then, this country is not ready for a woman or a woman of color, because of the fact that we still have so many social ills to overcome. We're not talking policy or anything like that. We're just talking about the very realistic state of where we live. And also the fact that more people are attached to their money. Muchelia, how are you? Give thanks and praise. More people are attached to their money and also choosing to stay in states of delusion in order to hold on to their perceived power. And that means, hey, listen, if I got to hold my nose and vote for this person, then I'm going to do it. I'd hoped that things would be different. You all know, those who follow me, who I voted for. I voted for Kamala, okay? Even though in my heart, I felt it's not going to happen. And I also remember going to Oracle about it, and it showed it's not going to happen. But Oracle can be overcome through human effort. You can push things through to flip it around, okay? Uteb, the turnaround. But even when I went to bed, and I actually was on the street with a microphone with some of my colleagues on election night, rallying people to get to the polls and to vote. And even as I was doing that, and I felt good being out there with my comrades, still, I remember thinking it's not going to happen. And as the night wore on, I said, I think I just need to go to sleep. Maybe some miracle will happen. I don't think so. But right now, I don't need to be just kind of like mired down in this, because yes, I got all hepped up and everything. I did everything within my power as a leader, as president of our local the newest local NAN chapter, National Action Network chapter, as an activist belonging to several other activist groups, as a minister of consciousness who believes very much in and teaches Kemetic liberation theology. And I still say that these are the original liberation theology teachings and motivational teachings. I did what I could so that I knew that I would not have anything on my hands, okay? But also just because it was the right thing to do. Iri ma'it, to do what is right. But, so, it gave me a lot of opportunity to really focus on what happened. Even though I'm very clear on where we live, and I'm very clear on where I live here in New Jersey. New Jersey is going to be red in a minute. It's been known as a blue state, but New Jersey eked out this much going blue. This much. I told you all the history of New Jersey last time. New Jersey was actually the last northern slaveholding state. And there are a lot of attitudes that are still pervasive even unto this day. That's the reality of where we live. In spite of that, though, in spite of living someplace where I saw crosses burned on the regular here in New Jersey, I'm here. We're here. Still, what happened? And I was going to share a different message today. Actually, I was going to share a message about strategy. That's coming. Strategy is important. And the guardians who deal with strategy. But KHNUM, or Kenemu. I prefer to call him by his name, Kenemu, was strongly put on my heart as I examined his story and what happened. So, for those of you who don't know, who is Kenemu? Here's an image. Let me pull this up. Oh, let me explain something about the meme that I created. Again, it says, Kenum, I got you. If there were to be a catchphrase for him, it would be, I got you. And you see the two hands there. That's because hands are associated with Kenum, because he is the one who crafts souls at the potter's wheel. And you see an Ankh that I put there in the center to represent you, to represent us, to represent life, our lives. Okay, so now what is some of the original imagery of him? Well, there's this. You see up in the, well, over here on the left-hand side, you see that he is sitting there, and he has just created a soul that's in the center. And the Nechuret Heket is giving life to that soul. She's feeding an Ankh to it. Here is a contemporary image of Kenemu and Heket. Kenemu, who has a ram beside him because he is depicted as a ram or with ram horns, and then holding a baby because he is the first deity, guardian, that was known to be the creator who sat at the potter's wheel. And he predates Obatala. And of course, we're familiar with the term the potter's wheel when it comes to dealing with the creator, right? But beyond that, he's also known as the one who throws open the floodgates at the Hapi, at the Nile, and also for releasing the water at all water sources. He is a water guardian, but he is also pre-dynastic. He's extremely ancient. He is a father figure. He has many names. In fact, in the prayer book that I have, my personal prayer book, I have a personal prayer that I wrote for him. That's something I teach my students to do. You know, we have all this wonderful ancient literature that was left behind. We'll get to hear some in a little bit. But it's important to be able to express yourself in the Kemetic language and being able to craft prayers. And in order to do that, you need to know the attributes of every single guardian and to know exactly what you want to ask for based on what they are able to give you. I often give you the example of family members because my Atef my godfather, Grandmaster Cam, he, and rest his soul, Makiru, he originally told us in the temple, the shrine of Kepra, that we should think of the guardians as our family. And as such, you know that everybody in your family is not the same. You may have an uncle who has a garage who's able to hook you up when your car's not working, okay? Or you may have an aunt who makes a crazy, outrageously good sweet potato pie. But you know, you can't go get sweet potato pie from your uncle with the garage because that's just not his thing. Or you may have an aunt who has a garage, okay? You may be able to go to your father to get some extra loot. But you may also know that if you go to your mother, she's going to give you even more. You know, everybody has their role. Everybody has their personality. Everybody has their attribute that they're able to bring to you in their roles as member of the family, just like you have your role. You bring your attributes. As people in the family get to know you, they say, oh, okay, so there's a program coming up at the church and we need somebody to sing, so we're going to ask you to go and sing because you're the one with the golden throat. Okay. uh, or, well, you're the professor, so I want to be able to recommend you to my club to go in and be the guest speaker. We come to know the strengths of everyone in our families, and it's the exact same way with the Necharu. So, in writing prayers for them, you must know their attributes. KHNUM has so many, so many. So just to name a few here, okay, KHNUM or KHNUM, which means creator of the universe. His name means creator of the universe. Ebu Necharu, father of the Necharu. KHNUM Ketcheru Nebu, KHNUM maker of mankind. These are all based on ancient names of him and attributes. Ibni Kenechem Ea. No, I'm sorry, Kenehep Ea. My glasses back on. Father of fathers, mother of mothers. No, I'm sorry, that's, yes, Ibu. No, it's the next line. First line, I'm sorry, was my father, KHNUM, the great potter. Then Ib in Ibu, Mut in Mutu, father of fathers, mother of mothers. Jasit Kerit, Lord of destiny. Jesestu, Jesestu or Jesustu. Jaset, master of the mountain, lord of the artisans. You know, there is this whole myth that's been going around our community saying that the Lord, the J sound did not exist until much, much later. So therefore, the name Jesus couldn't have existed and there could not have really been a Jesus. Well, the term Jesus comes out of Kemetic language, and the J sound is very clearly there. You say wujat, right? So many words that we have that have the J sound. And so this is one of them. We need to get past the urban myths that have developed in our community, which have been put there to throw us off and to discourage us from doing study on our own and reclaiming our own culture and history in truth. Okay? Then we have, yes, to explain, just Jesus tu or Jesus du, Jesus Jeset, master of the mountains, lord of the artisans. Jeset Gebu, lord of the cool waters. Jeses En Ma'et, lord of law, justice, reciprocity, balance, harmony, higher love. Jeses En Chet, lord of the white crown and white clothing. And you see the comparisons here with Obata, right? Jesu Or En Jesit, lord of elevation and ascension. KHNUM Nebet Per Mechet, lord of the abundant house. KHNUM Kenti Nejem Anket, master of the house of sweetness, joy, and life. Ebu Kerit, father of destiny. KHNUM Kenti Perank, KHNUM, master of the house of life. So all of these names apply, and they all give you a clear indication of what he does, who he is. And I'm going to share more of this prayer that I wrote. Anukpaiten kerit em kerui ek. I am your vase, your box, your vessel, your holder in your hand. Keper en jesek iri en neferek, created by your design and your beauty. Meni kenemititek jed. Grant me your spring, your well, your fountain, your cistern, your everlasting abundant waters. Abutori, which sounds like Obatala. Abutori, father of purity. Erdani, KHNUM kerep. Bring me KHNUM clarity. Shaisha, imak, kefau, kephu, kenu. Bring me respect, honor, confidence, magical power, confidence, So I have it twice here. Coolness, victory, keper nechem kai. Creativity, joy, good mental health, sweetness, and upliftment. Jed en reswini. Speak through my dreams. Keni kenemu. Kredek. Embrace kenemu, your child. Keb kebit. Bet you ni nebu. Defeat all of my enemies. Baraka ibak hetek netshir desher. Bless and anoint your holy house of God. Duau. In my experience, Kenemu is all of that and more. All of that and more. He is a protector. It says here in the teaching of Amen M. Apet, in the 9th chapter, 229th verse, the God Kenemure makes a process or a case against he who is, what's the best way to put it? He who turns his back on goodness and righteousness. He who Kenemu has blessed, and especially after a petitioner has asked for Kenemu to bless him or her. And then that petitioner, after receiving what he or she wants, then turns his or her back and expects that they're going to continue to walk in peace and in justice with all these blessings that perhaps now they did not really earn or deserve to get. So this basically says, for those who do that, Kenemu turns his back on you. It's like a renunciation. You ever been renounced by somebody? I was talking last week about how it is a Kemetic tradition to just erase someone. If there's somebody who has not been just to you on a consistent level and continues to show disrespect, then it's not about trying to grovel after them and trying to ask for them to speak to you and forgive you and all this. No. That means they don't deserve your energy. So with that, this says basically that Kenemu withdraws his energy. Okay, so all those blessings that you got, they about to go bye-bye, all right? And then also he is known as the great uniter. Kenem or Kenum means also to unite. So he is able to bring situations together. He's able to bring together the impossible. But if they fall apart because you have not continued to put the work in, then, he's not going to try to chase after you. He did his part. Now it's up to you to carry on with the rest. I've talked many times before about the 11th hexagram or Gwa in the I Ching, which is called peace, and talks about a family that works hard to build up generational wealth and maintains it for many generations. And then it gets to a point where the generations start to forget and they blow through their money and their security because all those who were there to build it before were gone. And they stopped talking in the family about how they got their money and who created it. So now, because they're desperate for some loot, the ones who are left basically just sell their sister off to this warring clan so that they can get a dowry. This again, what happens when you forget, when you choose to ignore, and the loss that you suffer because you don't carry on the stories, you don't carry on the names, you don't tell the history of how something came to be. And so people then reap the benefits of those who have come before. And then when it slips out of their hands because of their carelessness, then they do drastic things in order to get back some level of the creature comfort that they did not earn in the first place. Whether it is something that's within moral acceptance or not, that's another whole thing, because people will in their desperation to hold on to that piece of comfort that they had before, will compromise whatever ethics and morals they had just to get that material thing that they had before. So they take the easy way out. Let's go to this well-known story of KHNUM, which is at the, well, it was etched in the Stela of Sachal. There are many different versions of it. I have shared the Lickheim version with you all in the past. I'm going to share the Budge version. It's not my usual go-to, but I do appreciate the different interpretations. And this is also why it's good to be able to read it for yourself in the language, so you can make a determination. Okay. Let's go to the back here. I had everything all set up and laid out, but then I had to go and grab some medicine. For those of you who don't know, because you just got on, I have walking pneumonia. It's not funny. It kind of is, because I told you I have a macabre sense of humor. Plus, I've had it so often before. I said, I don't want this to be what it is, but my body knows exactly what this is. And surely enough, it turned out to be that's what I have. So, I think I'm doing well. Considering the fact that I have walking pneumonia, I think I'm doing really well. Okay. Okay. KHNUM, or KHNUM, you will find in the back the legend of, that's page 83. Let me see. Also, it might be easier if you look for the Stela of Sahal. Sahal, Sehel, or Sehal, or Sahal. Stela is Stele or Stela, the Stela of Sahal. You can open a window up, or even your phone. If you're on the computer, if you're on your laptop, if you're on your good Lord, the other device, and your phone is available to you, then you can just Google search them and be able to follow along. I'm going to I'm going to look up Sahal here. And this is also part of the studying because, here it is. Okay. So it's important to know that there are alternatives in spelling. Now, this is also known as the 7-year famine. It is believed that this is tied to the story that's in the Bible that's told about the 7 years of plagues. That's more research for you to do, but this came first. And folklore travels and things change. I'm not trying to take away from anybody's belief system, but I'm just talking as someone who does research, encourages research, and encourages having your eyes opened to be able to see the truth and do comparative study. Okay. Sister Shawanda, how are you today? Give thanks and praise. It's good to see you. Okay. So this is just some background here. The legend of KHNUM and a 7 years famine. The legend is cut in hieroglyphs on a large rounded block of granite, which stands on the southeast portion of Sahal, a little island in the first cataract of Upper Egypt, 2 or 3 miles to the south of the modern town of Aswan, the ancient Siam. And the form of the legend and the shapes of the hieroglyphs, or we call them Medu-Neter, and the late spelling of the words prove that the inscription is the work of the Ptolemaic period, though it is possible that the legend in its simplest form is as old as the period to which it is ascribed in the Sahal text, namely, and third dynasty, about 4100 BC. The subject of the legend is a terrible famine, which lasted for 7 years in the reign of King Jasser, or some say Joseph. Uh, and there's that J sound again, and which recalls the 7 years famine that took place in Kemet when Joseph was there. That's another whole lesson on whether Joseph really existed. It's believed that he did. There's speculation as to what role he really, not the role, but the name that he really had. And I found documentaries that basically prove that he did exist, but under another name that was similar to Joseph. But anyway, this famine was believed to have been caused by the king's neglect to worship properly the god KHNUM, who was supposed to control the springs of the Nile, which were asserted by the sages to be situated between two great rocks of the island of Elephantine. The legend sets forth that the viceroy of Nubia in the reign of Jasser was a nobleman called Meter, who was also the overseer of the temple properties in the south. His residence was in Abu, or Elephantine, and in the 18th year of his reign, the king sent him a dispatch in which it was written thus: "This is to inform thee that misery hath laid hold upon me as I sit upon the great throne, and I grieve for those who dwell in the great house." Period. Okay. And it says here is the allusion is to the royal title of the pharaoh, which in Kemetic language is Perea, the great house, and in whom and by whom all the Kamites were supposed to live. Okay, now going forward, my heart is grievously afflicted by reason of very great calamity, which is due to the fact that the waters of the Nile, or Hapi as we know it, have not risen to their proper height for 7 years. Grain is exceedingly scarce. There are no garden herbs and vegetables to be had at all, and everything which men use for food hath come to an end. Every man robbeth his neighbor. The people wish to talk about it, but are unable to move. The baby waileth. The young man shuffleth along on his feet through weakness. The hearts of the old men are broken down with despair. Their legs have given way under them. They sink down exhausted on the ground, and they lay their hands on their bellies in pain. The officials are powerless and have no counsel to give. And when the public granaries, which sought to contain supplies, are opened, there cometh forth from them nothing but wind, or dust in some versions. Everything is in a state of ruin. I go back in my mind to the time when I had an advisor, to the time when the gods of the Ibis god, or Jehuti, there's that J sound again, and to the chief Kerheb priest Imhotep, the son of Ptah, in his south wall. Tell me, I pray thee, where is the birthplace of the Nile? Like, where's the water at? What god or what goddess presideth over it? What kind of form hath the god? For it is he that maketh my revenue, and who filleth the granaries with grain. Basically, it's like, listen, you have the information, and apparently you must be sitting on it. Somebody needs to do something, because of the fact that we're starving here. We're starving and we're dying. So if you know, you need to give up the information and get to getting. Do what you have to do in order to correct this situation, so that we don't go on an 8th year famine and have more of us just drop dead and die. He goes on to say, I wish to go to consult the chief of Het Sekhmet, whose beneficence strengthen all men in their works. I wish to go into the house of life and to take the rolls of the books in my own hands, so that I may examine them and find out these things. Why did he say this? Because he knew that it was important to document what was successful, what worked, in order to keep things running smoothly. And evidently, it was a pattern to have these things written down in the great scrolls and placed in the House of Life, which was a college, with the local learning institution and temple. So he's accusing him. He's like, I know you're doing something shaky here, because right now you're looking pretty raggedy, and so is everything else. So if you're not going to do it, then I need to go do it, because you're not acting within your role, and somebody needs to fix this. Having read the royal dispatch from Viceroy Meter, set out to go to the king, and when he came to him, he proceeded to instruct the king in the matters about which he had asked questions. The text makes the king say, Meter gave me information about the rise of the Hapi, and told me all the men had written concerning it. So yes, there was a transcript. And he made clear to me all the difficult passages in the books, which my ancestors had consulted hastily, and which had never before been explained to any king since the time when Re reigned. And he said to me, there was a town in the river wherefrom the Hapi maketh his appearance. Ebu was its name in the beginning. It is the city of the beginning. It is the name of the city of the beginning. It reacheth to Wewadet, which is the first land on the south. There was a long, by the way, we just go back to a note here, just for the sake of scholarship. Going back to the notes, let me see, number 1, where it refers to, that's 2 right there. Go back. Okay, yes. When it talks about the Ibis god Tehuti and also Imhotep, and so Imhotep was renowned as, of course, a famous priest and magician of Memphis, and ultimately he was deified, as many of you know. Going forward. Okay, so there was a long flight of steps there, on which Re resteth when he determineth to prolong life to mankind. It is called Nejem Nejemenk. Here are the 2 Kerti, the 2 caverns which contain the springs of the Hapi, which are the 2 breasts wherefrom every good thing cometh. Here is the bed of the Hapi. Here the Hapi God reneweth his youth, and here he sendeth out the flood on the land. Here his waters rise to a height of 28 cubits. At Hermopolis in the delta, their height is 7 cubits. Here the Nile god smiteth the ground with his sandals. And so it was said that KHNUM, who was often also referred to as Re interchangeably, as we see here, it was said that he would walk along the Hapi and rest his sandals upon the earth as he enjoyed the sun and enjoyed nature. So he's remembering this, with seeing the God walk amongst them. And it goes on basically to ask, what happened? Where is he? Why haven't we seen him? Okay. So it goes on to say, it talks about this blessed place. And it says here at that blessed place, round about it are mountains of stone to which quarrymen come with their tools when they want stone to build temples to the gods, shrines for sacred animals, and pyramids for kings, or to make statues. Here they offer sacrifices of all kinds in the sanctuary. And here their sweet-smelling gifts are presented before the face of the god KHNUM. In the quarries on the riverbank of its granite, which is called the Stone of Abu, the names of its gods are Sepet, which is Satet, the dog star, Anket, Hapi, Shu, Geb, Nut, Wasir, Heru, Aset, Nebutet, and here are found precious stones, and there's a list: gold, silver, copper, iron, lapis lazuli, emerald, crystal, ruby, and alabaster, mother of emerald, and seeds of plants that are used in making incense. These were the things which I learned from the Metter Viceroy. Now, having informed the king concerning the rise of the Hapi and the other matters mentioned in the dispatch, Metter made arrangements for the king to visit the temple of KHNUM in person. Yeah, see, in this version, Metter says, "Oh no, I'm making sure that you go." Okay. In other versions, it is the priesthood that Jasser has told, listen, I'm in charge now. I'm on the throne. You ain't got to worry about whatever traditions we used to do. Okay. That was then. We're going to do it my way now, which means we ain't going to do nothing. We're going to abandon the old ways. We'll be fine. And then what happened? It was a 7-year famine. And in the other version, the priesthood can't take it anymore. And they go ahead and bust open the old books and find out what the ancestors before had written. And they tell him, listen, we're going to take you up the mountain. We found out the proper offerings that you should take. The term in the Kemetic language for offerings is just like the same term in Orisha tradition, which is Ebu. Okay. We know what Ebu you're supposed to take. So you're not going to mess this up for us. All right. You're going and we're going to go with you. In this case, it is from this message of the viceroy that the king finds out what should be done. Whatever the case, Jasser did not take it upon himself to do the work he needed to do to find out, okay, so I'm messing up, obviously. Something's wrong. What am I not doing? Maybe I should go and read the sacred scrolls that I told everybody not to read. But no, out of frustration, others decided something drastic has got to change. Somebody's got to be bold enough to go and blow the dust off of those sacred scrolls and read the information that was left behind for us to let us know what we need to do for things to carry on harmoniously and successfully. Okay? So, I'm going to cut to the chase here. They go up the mountain to visit KHNUM and to bring the offerings. And the king or the Perea or Nisu, Jasser, goes, lays down the sacred Hetep tablet with all of the offerings for KHNUM, and then lays down. He feels a sleep come over him. For those of you who are used to receiving messages in your sleep, prophetic messages, you know that feeling that comes over you. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you just feel woozy and you have to lay down. So that's what happened to him. This came over him. He laid down. He went to sleep. And then in his sleep, he saw the face of KHNUM standing before him. Now, in some versions, because Jasser is so brash, he has still not been humbled, even with all this stuff that's going on. You had all this disaster that's taking place. Death, illness, starvation, no water. All this goes on, but he's still proud. Somebody from the outside had to come and put him in check. Okay? He's still proud. In the dream state, KHNUM comes before him. He sees his smiling face. And in some versions of the story, he wakes up and he says, my father, where have you been? I'm here now. Where have you been, though? And KHNUM, in those versions, basically says to him, where you been? Okay? So, let me read what is here. And now in the words of Jasser, he says, I entered the temple, and the keepers of the rolls untied them and showed them to me. I was purified by the sprinkling of holy water, and I passed through the places where they were prohibited in ordinary, where they prohibited ordinary folk, and the great offerings of cakes, ale, geese, oxen, etc., was offered up on my behalf to the gods and goddesses of Abu. Okay, he had to go through a purification process, especially because of the fact that he was acting like such a jackass. He needed humility, and this humbled him. He had to get cleansed before he could go and step on that holy ground. And he submitted to that. And then he says, I found the god KHNUM standing in front of me. And in this case, he didn't fall asleep. In this case, he sees him face to face in this version. And I propitiated him with the offerings that I made unto him. And I made prayer and supplication before him. Then he opened his eyes. And there's a note down here. It says the king was standing before a statue with movable eyes. Okay. Maybe. Possible. I know they did have those back then. That's another lesson for another day. But anyway. Then he opened his eyes, and his heart inclined to me. And in a majestic manner, he said to me, I am KHNUM, who fashioned you, who made you. My two hands grasped thee and knitted together thy body. I made thy members sound. I gave thee thy heart. Yet the stones have been lying under the ground for ages, and no man worketh them in order to build a God house, to repair the sacred buildings for which are in ruins, or to make shrines in the gods of the south and north, or to do what he ought to do for his Lord, even though I am the Lord, the Creator. I am Nu, the self-created, the great God who came into being. I am a Hepid, the Nile God, who riseth at will and give health to him that worketh for me. I am the governor and guide for all men in all their ages. The most great, the father of God, the gods, Shu, the great one, the chief of the earth. The two halves of heaven are my abode. The Hapi is poured out in a stream by me, and it goeth round about the tilled lands, and its embrace produceth life for everyone that breatheth, according to the extent of its embrace. I will make the Hapi to rise for you, and in no year shall it fail, and it shall spread its waters out and cover land satisfactorily. Plants, herbs, and trees shall bend beneath the weight of their produce. The goddess or the church Renenet, the harvest goddess, shall be at the head of everything. In other words, abundance is coming, and every product shall increase 100,000-fold according to the cubit of the year. The people shall be filled or satisfied, verily to their heart's desire, yea, everyone. Want shall cease. The emptiness of the granary shall come to an end. The land of Merah, the beloved land, or Kemet, shall be one cultivated land, and the districts shall be yellow with the crops of grain, and the grain shall be good. The fertility of the land shall be according to the desire of the husbandman, and it shall be greater than it hath ever been before. At the sound of the word crops, the king awoke. So here it is a dream state. And or the snap awoke on another level, another consciousness level, like, oh, wait a minute. So he's honoring my offerings, and he's going to help us out. We're not going to suffer anymore. Oh, okay. And the king awoke, and the courage that then filled his heart was as great as his former despair had been. He had come to a place of contrition because it finally sunk in. First of all, he was embarrassed. Some outsider had to come and tell him about himself. Second, he started to feel guilty about the fact that he was just letting people die because of his pride. And then the other part of it was coming and being before the great god KHNUM. And KHNUM basically called him on the fact that he had not been up to the temple. My temple is in disrepair. You're asking me to throw open the floodgates, but what are you doing? In the Kemetic tradition, it's understood that it is reciprocation that keeps things going. You do for me, I do for you, I do for you, you do for me. There's a symbiotic relationship in nature. We have a respect. We also understand, again, our roles, but understanding that it's important that we depend on each other. That is also with the divine. Penelope, I said, how are you? It's good to see you. It's been a long time. So, having left the chamber of the god, the king made a decree by which he endowed the temple of KHNUM with lands and gifts. And he drew up a code of laws under which every farmer was compelled to pay certain dues to it. In other words, tithing. Every fisherman and hunter had to pay a tithe. Of the calves cast, 1/10 were to be sent. Of the calves cast, 1/10 were to be sent to the temple to be offered up as the daily offering. Gold, ivory, ebony, spices, precious stones, and woods were tithed, whether their owners were Kemites or not. But no local tribe was to levy duty or taxes on these things on their road to Abu. Every artisan also was to pay tithe, with the exception of those who were employed in the foundry attached to the temple, and whose occupation consisted in making the images of the gods. The king further ordered that a copy of this decree, the original of which was cut in wood, should be engraved on a stela to be set up in the sanctuary, with figures of KHNUM and his companion gods cut above it. The man who spat upon the stela, which was not an act of defiance or disgust or disrespect, it was kind of like a bonding seal. The man who spat upon the stela, it was discovered, was to be, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. That's not right. Because there is something where you go in nature, and if you go into nature and you take something, you should at least leave something. And as a bond for people, if you don't have anything, then you at least spit on the ground, okay? That's not what's meant here. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about it. So in this case, it was decreed that the man who spat upon the stela, if discovered, was to be admonished with a rope. In other words, this was considered sacred text. And as such, if you were caught desecrating it, then you were going to face punishment. So this was the new decree that was set up by King Josiah, who had learned his lesson and who also realized that he needed to be able to set the example for his people, but also came to understand the role of tithing. Listen, a lot of us who have left the so-called traditional church, even though a lot of us still have it within us, it was our foundation, it still is within us. We frown upon these terms that we feel just came out of the traditional church when it's the other way around. These terms came to the so-called traditional Christian church, and also from some of the other Abrahamic religions from Kemet. Just like you're hearing about the one who sat at the potter's wheel, the one who threw open the floodgates, and this concept of tithing. Tithing is not to show great tribute to the Netzer Netzeru. The idea of tithing is so that everybody in the community benefits. If you have a temple, a place of worship that is important, that is the spiritual cornerstone, foundation, and hub for a community, then it should not be going to rot, okay? Because the reflection of the temple is the reflection of the people. Therefore, if you disrespect it, then you can't expect that you're going to have things running harmoniously. Also, all the food, all the food offerings, the animals and so forth that ended up being cooked and whatnot, the grains and all that, that's for the community. Even though it's laid down before the sacred altar for the Netzer Netzeru or Netchort, the god or goddess, the idea is they accept the offering and their essence is in it, and then the community is encouraged to throw down and feast. This is so nobody's able to go hungry. And also, if it means, well, hey, fine linens are brought forth and all of that, then for those who need them, they will benefit. Tithing is a reciprocal act, okay? If you have a leader who is not willing to demonstrate humbleness and do his own version of coming before the divine with the sacred Hetep tablet, with the abu upon it, with the offering upon it, then that's just asking for trouble, because it means you're dealing with a selfish leader. Great community leaders make sure that the energy cycle keeps going. And if there's a deficit, like a famine, then the leader has to first check himself. This is a Kemetic thing. Listen, nobody does mea culpa like Kemites, okay? True Kemites, those who are really practicing. Because in our tradition, we check ourselves first. What could I have done? What didn't I do? Did I do everything that I could do? Is there some other way that I need to just humble myself and listen and learn to step outside of what is familiar to me in order to gain the information, incorporate it in the best way that where I can grow, but also how my community can be best taken care of? How does all of this relate to what happened on Tuesday? How does that relate to where we're living? How we're living? What have we done? What have we not done? Let's break the story down. You have this king, just there. He takes over the throne. Okay? Instead of being humble about it and using wisdom, because wisdom would mean that you want to find out if there's a peaceful transfer of power, right? Even if you've got a father, a relative, whoever that's passing the throne on to you, you don't know fully about what it's like to be on the throne because you haven't been on the throne. You maybe have been around it, been exposed to it, but you have not been in a position of power. A wise person hearkens to others who have been there and who have ready advice to offer. An arrogant person will ignore all of that, think that they are all of that, do what they want to do, and even in their stubbornness, ignore the fact that what they're doing ain't working. Now, in the version of the story where his priesthood was too afraid to step to him until 7 years later, why did it take 7 years? Okay, beyond the fact that 7's a mystical number. Okay, but you had 7 years of suffering, and it got worse and worse and worse. I'm going like this because the Nile waters were getting lower and lower and lower. The floodgates were not thrown open. No communication between the king and the divine. And it was believed that the king was supposed to be acting in the role of a priest. Some believed that he was the embodiment of the Necheru. And if things are just falling apart, then something's not right. You humble yourself. It took him being shamed, right? And the fact that he sat there for 7 years without yielding meant that he was not getting the lesson. Sacred books were left there for him. He chose to ignore them. Somebody else had to come and tell him what it said. Where are we at right now? Well, we're in a great age of disconnect. This year, our oracle message was the importance of hearkening to the ways of our ancestors, leaning upon them, and also with being able to see the glaring truth of Rayet, clarity, and having our ancestors help us through, because it showed that this was going to be a challenging year. Well, here we are. Here we are. Maria, oh my goodness. All these folks I haven't seen in a long time are showing up. How are you over there in the UK? Drop me a message, please, please, please. And yeah, I took my WhatsApp off because I was just getting messages off the hook from people. And a lot of them were just people I didn't know and didn't want to know. Okay. So if you can send me a message, I really would appreciate hearing from you. So when systems break down, when governments break down, and going back to the question of why did it take 7 years for the priesthood? Okay, so obviously Josiah was ignoring his priesthood too. He was just out of alignment all the way around. The term way and way, I am one with the one, means that you are listening. It means that you are in alignment. It means that you're doing everything you can to be in ma'at. What is ma'at? Harmony, reciprocity, balance, justice, order, higher love. When you are not in compliance with ma'at, that means you are in aspect. Aspect is confusion. It is chaos. It is evil. We don't have a perfect day every day. Okay. I mean, listen, we're human, but ideally, you strive to be the best that you can be, whether you have a belief system or not. If you do, then hearkening to it is wisdom, especially if it's been proven, if it has worked for you before and has worked for others. Here's my email. You probably sent it to the one that I closed, Maria. I hold like this will be better. Hold on. At Yahoo. There we go. Oops. Okay, can you see it there? There's my email. Please, all y'all, please don't swamp me with emails, okay? Although I guess it is up on my website, but still, just don't y'all get, some of y'all, don't get cute. All right. Okay. So if the priesthood was afraid to approach the king, then on the one hand, they were trying to be respectful, but the bottom line is, who does the priesthood answer to first? Not the king. To the divine and to the ancestors. Okay? Oftentimes we have people who have a certain amount of cowardice when it comes to approaching local authorities. Like, look, you're wrong. And sometimes you sit back and you watch. Well, watching is wisdom, because it's not encouraged to just jump out and come out of your face all the time. You have to have all the information correct. In the Kemetic practice, we talk about the importance of sleeping for a night if you have a dispute with someone, or at least waiting 3 days before you reapproach it. So that way you are not so you're not disrespectful, so that you're not incorrect, so that you have, so that you are doing the right thing, saying the right thing, and approaching the issue in the right way, or just making sure if there is even an issue. Are you being emotional and you're just blowing things up? Or maybe because you don't have all the right information, you're not conveying the story right. This is how gossip gets around. Or in situations where you just don't want to be bothered because it's just going to be too much to try to change something, or you may feel defeated. You may feel as though it's a hopeless cause. Or again, there's a whole thing of assumption. Oh, things are going to change eventually. I don't need to do anything. So for the last several years, we have watched what's been happening in government. And also when it was announced that 45 was going to run again, and especially after the conviction charges, everybody was so sure, oh, that's going to go away. Mm-mm. Because here's what happened. If you are familiar with the art of war, and I still say that every Black and brown person should know everybody who is concerned about their own well-being should be familiar with the art of war. Because in truth, there was a lot of art of war strategy that was utilized, even times where it made the opposition, I'll just say opposition for right now, just to be PC, seem weaker than he really was in terms of his numbers, in terms of his followers. I actually even believe that all those rallies where people were walking out, that it was staged. I think so, to give people the impression that he was at a disadvantage, when in truth, there was a lot of behind the scenes planning happening all along. And when you have a lot of hubris that develops, or people around you, I should say, who are getting overly confident based on what they think they see, instead of really examining what's going on, then you have a major problem. And because of the fact that they are doing all of this strategic work behind the scenes, that gives them an advantage. You never rest on your laurels. You never just go by what you see. You examine every aspect. I was going to be talking about menu or meni tonight. Meni is strategy based off of menu, which is another name for min or minu, also known as amsu. Amsu, for those of you who don't know, is an aspect of wasir or asar. And listen, the stories are everything. As a storyteller, I can tell you. As a folklorist, I can tell you. And the stories that will go from one area to another, one country to another, but still have the same moral attached to it. In this story, there is a king who has to go to war with his men from this village in Kemet. And he's concerned about the women being protected. So he calls upon the Netshur or god Amsu or Min or Menu to come down in the flesh, because all of the Netshuru had to have their turn coming down on earth in the flesh, experiencing what it was like to be human, so they could better understand how to serve, how to best serve humanity as a Netshur, okay? And so it was his first time coming down. He comes down, it's his first time dealing with the human suit. And he's trying to ask, well, listen, how do I work this thing? And the king was like, yo, thanks for coming. We'll be back when we finish this war. We're going to slay our enemies and we'll be right back. 2 years later, the king and his men return. And surely enough, they're victorious in war. But they're so shocked and dismayed to see all these little Amsus running around, all these little men's. They assumed that Menu helped himself to the goodies. They were quite insulted. Took advantage of our women. You procreated with our women. They grabbed him up, cut off one arm, one leg, tossed him out of the village. Now, 25 years later, the children of those that they had slain in battle 25 years before came back. They came to avenge their fathers. So the original warriors were too old to fight, but not the children of Amsu or Menu. And it was at that point, after the children of Menu easily slayed the warriors' children, that's when the king and his men realized, oh, is that what that was about? Oh, shoot. Maybe we shouldn't have done that to Menu. They maimed him. These stories are actually pretty common when you have stories with when the gods come down in the flesh and humans don't understand what their mission is and react from a place of emotions and from short-sightedness because they don't have the patience or the humility to wait and find out what's going on. So when you see Emsu, generally you see him depicted with one arm, it's up in the air like this, one leg, and an erect phallus. He's in profile. And that is because of the story. Emsu represents seeing the forest for the trees, knowing what's coming, also knowing that there are those around you who don't get it and won't get it for a while, but you do what you need to do, planting seeds for the future. That's Emsu. That's Min. That's Menu. Menu, as a word, is depicted as a game board, which is probably like Senet, which was an early game board, okay? But it is a game you would liken to chess, where you have to strategize. You're not just randomly moving things. You are placing things with forethought, and also you're thinking about your opponent and what he or she may do. Okay? So, in terms of that kind of strategy, knowing that there is a level of sacrifice, and also knowing that there may be others around you who don't get what you're trying to do. In a group situation, and if you're working as a team, then there is definite strategy. And knowing that you're doing the okie doke over here, the distraction over here, but you've really got this whole other network of plans going over here. In a situation with KHNUM. Now, let me just tell you, KHNUM was the kind of ruler who was like this. Okay, you left me up here. My temple's in disrepair. Y'all don't even get any water, and you don't get it. I'll wait. And he did. He knew at some point there was going to be an appropriate response, but that it was going to take drastic measures because of who he was dealing with. He was dealing with a very oppositional and stubborn ruler. No problem. I'll wait. I can outwait you. I'm KHNUM. I'll be having a good time by myself. He's one that parties, okay? But then when the king showed up, he was kind to him. Why? Because he finally showed up and he vowed to do the right thing. But he was aware of who the problem was. And the problem basically rested on one very stubborn individual. So how do you react in cases like that? And in this situation, how do you see that in terms of what just happened in the election? And I know those of you who are overseas, I know that you are dumbfounded. You can't believe that we're doing this again. I know people are saying some stuff. Yeah, what people are saying around the world about Americans, it's embarrassing. It's true, but it's embarrassing. And what happens when you're dealing with self-interest? Jasir was coming from a place of self-interest. Okay. What happens? What would have happened also if the priesthood had reacted much sooner? All the lives that could have been spared. Because at some point, when you're dealing with that kind of opposition, There's got to be something that somebody does to drastically change things. Yes? Just from the things I've shared with you so far, what are your thoughts? Please put them in the chat. I can tell you, as an educator, someone who has worked with children for years, with adults also. I've worked with people of all ages, but I've worked particularly over the years in the school system with children. My focus has been on pouring our history and culture into them. Our history and culture is being changed by the moment and erased by the minute. But there's something about connecting children to their history and culture that's very affirming. And then when you meet them later in life, you find out that they'll come back and they'll tell you how much they appreciated what they learned from you, because it gave them a better idea of and sense about themselves. What happens if that's taken from you? What happens when you don't have the whole story? Maria says, Ashe, everyone listening to the live or future broadcast. So what are your thoughts? I remember thinking we're at this precarious time. And in spite of the fact that you can have a leader that is selfish, if you have others around him, or let me just say who is short-sighted. Okay, let me just say that. If you have a leader that is short-sighted, and if you have others around the leader that is short-sighted, and they're going to do what they can to just continue to push forward the erroneous agenda of the short-sighted person, then who's at fault? And then what can the innocent people who live there, who don't hold the same level of power, what can they do? That's the kind of situation that can actually cause revolt. You know, there's a revolt I remember that was noted in Kemet when leadership changed as a Merkut or pyramid was being built. And, you know, the stories that they have about the Merkut being built by people who were enslaved is being greatly challenged, because you had to be an artisan of great skill in order to work on it. And also they had hired per diem workers or day workers, those who would travel around and offer their skills, you know, and they would stay for a little while, finish the gig and leave. They got paid very well. They got fed very well. They were housed well. And that's not something that usually happens to somebody who is enslaved, right? But for during this particular time, when there was a change in regime and the coffers were really low, the payment to the artisans was cut. And they're out there working, and they're cranky, and it's hot, and they're not even getting enough beer to drink to quench their thirst, and they're not getting enough food. They have families and so forth. And you know, so what happened? They revolted. They went on strike. And they didn't go back to work until they got the terms met. These things happen, okay? In the situation with the 7-year famine, you had people who were so weak that they couldn't even fight for themselves. Yet you know that whatever was in the storehouse was going to the royals. So the people were suffering. They could not even stand up and fight. Lynn, how you doing? My thoughts are, I know the history to the best of my ability. I pass it on. I keep seeking. Okay. And Sister Condi says, people are afraid to lead because of being rebuked. Well, now what about that? If you're going to take a leadership role on, then you know that's just part of the game. I don't assume everybody likes me. I know everybody doesn't like me. I know there are a lot of people who do, but I'm not stupid enough to feel, I'm not foolish enough to believe everybody likes me. I know everybody doesn't like me, and that's because a lot of times I get pushback on a lot of different things. If something is wrong, I speak out against it. You know, I don't come out of my face. I use our tradition. I'm very careful in the words that I use. But even so, you may be extremely careful in what you use. and still find people are upset with you because they just don't like the content of what you're saying, because they don't want to have to change. They don't want to be called out. They don't want to change things. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to feel insulted, even though you may have used glowing words. You could have spoken just like the eloquent peasant, and used all kinds of wonderful flowery words, but still brought the truth. But then people are just still, if they're really oppositional, especially, then they're just not going to like you. There's often a scapegoat. And I feel also in this situation that Kamala Harris was scapegoated because of the fact that people who did not like the policies of the current administration, that they basically dumped the blame on her. And she was not the decision maker, okay? She's the VP, not the president. So, so with leadership, you have to be willing to accept that not everybody's going to like you. And you have to be willing to own and use your voice. Fear leads to many problems. Makes you afraid to speak out. Makes you accept living conditions that are not fair. Makes you accept behavior and treatment from people that's not correct. Makes people who are at a disadvantage even more victimized. And so at some point, strength and courage has to come forward. And there has to be a hearkening to when is the appropriate time. And how do you react to it? What do you do? And then if you don't get what you are seeking the first time, do you just give up? No. But here's the thing that I love about KHNUM. KHNUM, understanding humans with all of our foibles and so forth, still, he says, I got you. I got you. In another version of the words that he uses, he says, my two arms are around you, or either my hands that sculpted you are around you. I got you. I know everything about you. Everything. Because I made you. Yes, this was a hard lesson for you to get right now, but don't worry, I got you. I got you. Yes, Maria, only time will tell, for sure. So this is how I feel. Based on all of this, and based on all of the ponderings and meditation and deep thought that I've given to this, as I looked into our Kemetic wisdom and the messages that are there. Well, just like right now, I am dealing with this walking pneumonia, and this is probably the best bout that I've ever had of it in my life. I'm not toe up and so forth, but I also was able to reach out to community. When instead of feeling, oh, I shouldn't bother anybody, or being too proud to ask for help. When people ask me, do you need anything? If so, then please let me know. And said, I need some help. I got you. I got you. It's said that when we do just act for other people, then we are acting in the role of the divine. We are keeping the flow of the best of humanity going and of community. But we become the arms and hands of the divine. Why would you deny that? Why would you deny yourself that? So we need to have community, and we need to come together. We need to work together. Do we agree on everything? No. And when I say seek out people who are similar to you and who have a similar set of ethics and morals, that doesn't mean that we're going to agree on every single thing. But if we can at least agree to respect each other, have a set of terms where we understand what that respect is going to look like, and to be able to reciprocate for one another and uphold one another, even and especially during trying times. That's when people thrive. There's a Kemetic saying that says, the man who struggles with the people, I should pull that out. Where's my Hosea? It's easily found in the Hosea. But basically, when you're willing to struggle with your people, then you also are able to rise and succeed with your people. Why? Because you're in it together. I'm not saying you have to lower your standards in order to be with the people. I am saying that it's important to have a level of understanding and consciousness about where you fit into the equation, what you can do in order to help bring things up without diminishing others, right? So that everybody is able to live well, so that there is no suffering, so that we're able to alleviate each other's suffering. That is my 8, parity. In a monarchy, when one person's calling the shots, and basically it's all about the monarch, there's no parity in that, none. As it was demonstrated with Jasser, his only interest was in himself. Hey, I'm the king. People dropping dead, they ain't got nothing to do with me. Eventually he realized, yeah, it does. And he had to be shamed into it. So you have some different levels of narcissism there. We've talked about narcissism with Satesh. His leadership when he took over Kemet, when he stole the throne from Wasir after he killed his brother twice. And how basically he really didn't know how to lead. Not everybody who is sitting in the throne of power knows what to do when they get there. We'll have another service or message regarding how to wield power. That's multi-layered. But just because you earn the seat doesn't mean you know what to do. You know, they had rulers that were children on the throne. Do you really believe that they knew what to do? No. It was the people around them who were running things. The kid was the figurehead. Now, here's something else to consider. When you've got someone who is a figurehead, who is showing that they're clearly incapable of true leadership and are not looking out for themselves. Okay, with children, what are they interested in? Playing, eating, being spoiled. You know, if you're a king, if you're a prince or a king, you know, you're thrust into leadership. That's going to be your filter. And everybody around is going to understand that. But listen, if you have people around who have their own agenda, they're more than happy to have some immature child sitting on the throne because they can, behind the scenes, do what they want to do. That's again part of that whole strategy, you see. Okay? Or if somebody who's just clueless. So here's the thing that I have learned in dealing with those who are not in touch with the community. And this is just across the board. Because the Democrats made a lot of mistakes in this too. They did. And they made a lot of mistakes. I mean, obviously they made a lot of mistakes because they're not, lost a lot of power. Let me just take a moment to get a sip of my water. Y'all sip any water? So in times of opposition, and when you're seeing other people are carrying out their agendas and whatnot, and when you're dealing with elements of closed-mindedness, disconnection, and narcissism, I find, based on my experience, and also if you just study history, even though it may appear that people are getting away with things start imploding or exploding. The person ends up just kind of, or the power base around that person, they begin to fall apart. They self-destruct. When that happens, it's important to make sure that your household and your community are in check and are able to endure in spite of Look what we went through with the COVID crisis. We're not going to tear that apart. We're not going to go through that. A lot of us, I mean, there's a lot of emotion that's attached to that for all of us, I'm sure, because that was something that was global. But we came out on the other side. Some of us traumatized, some of us more traumatized than others. I mean, we were all affected adversely in some way. But we're healing and we're here. Let us know that we have the ability to overcome. And we believe that the power of the natural rule resides within all of us. Okay? And it's all a matter of just being able to open them up, to have faith, but also action along with it. To not live like you have your head in the sand like an ostrich. And to make sure that you do plenty of planning for your safety for now and for the future. What does that mean? Economically, you need to make sure that you are not going to face a period of famine, even though it looks like we're going to go through some hard times in the near future. But make sure things are straight for your house. Do what you can to safeguard your own storehouses. Okay. Make sure that you have the resources that are necessary for you to be able to ride through the rough times, just like we did through COVID. And for those of us who grew up with blatant racism, knowing what that energy is, knowing what that looks like and what it feels like, trust and believe. We went through it before, but we can rise up and go and become victorious in spite of it. Many of us had families that came from the South with nothing and came to the North and made something of themselves. We had families who were also in the South and in spite of the hard times, still persevered, stuck together with family, shared resources and ended up coming out victorious and prosperous. This is not impossible for us. Let us not be like those priests that sat back for 7 years and allowed tyranny to rule and for everybody else to be affected. What is it going to take for us to finally be fed up enough to look out for ourselves in a way that is going to affect change in this world? Well, I don't believe that we're going to see a perfect world before I leave this planet. It's going to take some time. And especially this country is still a very young country. When we look at the values that it was built on and how, in spite of the fact that we have had a lot of things that have changed, there really has not been a whole lot that has changed. And we have folks who want to hearken back to the worst times of history in this country. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. That doesn't mean that we have to shed any blood or anything. It's just a matter of appropriate action as a people, as a community, with mindfulness, with an open heart, with love, with wisdom, with caution. I know that there are people who say, okay, well, I'm just going to give them a pass and hope for the best. No. Study the art of war. The art of war. Never sleep on your opponents, ever. Never assume that everything is just over when it looks like everything's good. Always prepare. Always have several plans. And make sure as a spiritual person that you are aligned. And I'm going to say this, the last thing I'm going to say. There are a lot of us who claim to have spiritual practices, but don't really practice them. And, like we're all over the place. Like, some of you may bounce in here and get some teachings and then bounce on to the next thing. How much of this are you incorporating into your life? How much of this resonates with you? It doesn't mean you have to be comedic, but I'm just saying, as far as the teachings are concerned, is this something that you're internalizing in order to make yourself a better person? I know people who are on this forum and this forum. They're on this prayer call, and every morning this person says such and such and such and such. Okay, but you're living in squalor and you still have a habit. What is it doing for you? How are you internalizing it? Especially, okay, you were initiated years ago, but then how are you living now? What is ruling your life? Are you living a disciplined life within a tradition? If you have been following these teachings, and if you are calling yourself Kemetic, because I know everybody on here is not Kemetic, and that's cool. But for those of you who do and who are you living the culture? For everybody who is in ATRs or in earth-based spiritual paths, those that I call our indigenous ancestral paths, but the world calls paganism. Are you living up to the best of your ability? Are you recreating what your ancestors did? And I don't mean in a good way. As people of consciousness, we need to be aware that those who are very anxious to swoop up our traditions are using them to suppress us. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. If we, as people of consciousness, come together, we can change things on an energetic level. And we know this. But there's so much diversion. Well, I'm going to go and follow this teacher for a while. Wow, this feels really good. A lot of us get into different things because we're trying to escape the pain that we feel every day. Yes, pain is challenging. But if you work things right, your pain can become your profit, your tragedy can become your triumph. But you have to be willing to face things down and also demonstrate and live the discipline that is necessary for you to be able to build that spiritual muscle, strengthen it, understand what your practice is about, what your beliefs are about. And the main thing is getting yourself aligned with what is right and not being afraid to do what is right. Ma'at Shais Ma'at, consistency. Hair, that is the face. When we say a necheret or a necherak to another elder or leader, it is saying show up, show your face, show yourself. Well, I ask you, are you showing up? How do you show up? Are you showing yourself, and what does that look like? Now, I also want to make clear, for those of us who have been in many different traditions, generally we do have one that we're anchored in, and we're able to see the interconnectedness and interrelatedness of the other traditions and weave what we have learned and practiced into our main practice. Okay? Many of us not trying to just be eclectic, no. Sometimes we have spiritual missions that we have to fulfill on a karmic level for ourselves and also for our families. So that may mean we have to be here for a little bit, then here for a little bit, okay, all in terms of the ATRs. But if you are not putting in the work and able to connect with others who are putting in the work so we can build a spiritual power fist to overcome obstacles and in order to heal our communities, which you should be praying for every day. Pray for your community every day. Pray for your house, your block, your neighborhood, your city, and your country and the world. If you're not able to do that, and there was a woeful disconnect in terms of all of us being able to galvanize spiritually. We can't do that, then what are we doing this for? It's time to go to the next level. Those of us of spiritual consciousness, no matter what your path is, as long as you're focused on living well, living right, living ethically, living morally correctly, and having the desire to heal not only ourselves, but also our world, then keep following the teachings. We're going to go to the next level. Erdani Mbunikai, take me to my higher place. Erdanu Mbunukai, take us to our higher place. You ready? If you're ready, say Anuksaped. I am ready. Anuksaped. I am ready. Anuksaped. I am ready. Say it. Believe it. And let's spend these next countless days continuing to build, to grow, to love, to attract and hold on to abundance, and continue to care about the people in our circle. Divine Limitless Creator, we thank you so much for this day, for this time, for the opportunity to serve, to be in service for you, for humanity, for the higher cause, for the higher good. We ask that you would hold us, bless us, continue to put your arms around us. As KHNUM has said, my two arms embrace you. I got you. I got you. Let's continue to have faith in the divine and also in the best of mankind as we are moving forward into a new day, but with confidence and humility, wisdom, and love. Let us draw upon the strength of our ancestors. Let them continue to guide us along with our Paut Necharu, our spiritual crew. We ask all these things in your divine name. Amen, Imenit. Okay. Let's end with Eucharist, our Comedic Eucharist. Maria, I look forward to getting your email. Glasses on, glasses off. Where are the glasses? Where are my glasses? I think I should just leave them up. There they are. It blended in with everything on my desk here. The Sacred Supper of Eucharist, known today as Eucharist, was created in ancient Kemet. The priests and priestesses of Osset honored the resurrection of King Wasir and the resurrection of life. We all face personal levels of resurrection daily. As we learn the lessons of this life, we strive to grow, leave behind the old and unnecessary habits and behaviors, and move forward into higher consciousness. The blood that flows through our veins is of our ancestors. Huit represents the DNA, the ancestral blood that reaches back into the beginning of time. In African culture, we refer to it as the river of ancestors. The blood, or senef, of our ancestors flows through each of us, as our blood will flow through future generations. It is an endless stream. As we call upon the lights and wisdom of our high ancestors, or Iaku, our blood becomes purified. As such, we are mindful of giving respect, Sha'esha, to Senef, the blood. When we become spiritually awakened, we take our places within the awakened body of consciousness, Christ consciousness, Kerest consciousness. Kerest means the mummified remains or body wrapped in swaddling strips. Death to the old, yet spirit lives on. It has victory over death. We, in our spiritual growth, have victory over death and in life as we put emphasis on spirit and are not stuck in matters of the flesh and mundane. The bread, te, symbolizes the body, or Kerest. Please hold up your bread and repeat after me. Necheru, bless this bread of life. Semek necheru, mishet ank pen. I am the bread of life. Anuk mishet ank. I am the body of awakened consciousness. Anuk kerest. My body is sacred. Katija ser. My spirit is of nature. Kwani en nature. Thank you, nature. Dwa nature. Wunem, eat. Please hold up your cup. Repeat after me. Necheru, bless this blood of life. Semek necheru, senef ank pen. My blood flows from the river of ancestors. Senefi sef sef ni im iaku. Webi, purify me. Thank you, Nichur. Dwa Nichur. Baba, drink. Please hold up your cup. This cup is also you. It is a sacred chalice. You, like the cup, are a sacred vessel. Be mindful of what you fill your life with. Your life is sacred. Your life is sacred. Repeat after me. I am a sacred vessel. Anuk imaku. My life is sacred. Anki Jaser. Amen. 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 That concludes our service. Reverend Tamu, how are you this evening? Remember your Kemetic Ren. I need to look it up. Mills, thank you so much, and thank you for your generous donation last week. Duau, duau, duau. And for those of you who wish to make a donation, you can go to, in fact, where did you find, was that, listen, I'm the webmaster for all my pages. So sometimes I lose track. So Moonshadow, where was it that you found the place to make the donation, or did you just find me on PayPal? And I will tell you, I've just gone ahead and come out of my pocket to help donate to local food banks. Yeah, I'm on PayPal. That's okay. Thank you. I'm glad you found me there. It was a nice surprise. Yeah, so I've been coming out of my pocket to donate to the local food bank and also to some of the people who are around who are food challenged. We have a great problem that's going on in the country with an increase in homelessness, and Newark is no different. And so even though I have not advertised in a while about donating to KHNUM as a ministry in order to help, I've just gone on ahead and done it as my own act of tithing. But if you wish to do the same, or if you recognize you want to help a sister out, okay, send it to me. I will gladly take it. And then also you will find my leg. It's a good thing I do yoga. I swear. You will find also, if you go to my online store, you'll find my art and my dolls. And I have my business tag on them. These are, I call them Emelisa's dolls, named after my great grandmother, who used to sew and design things. So it's Emelisa's Dolls by QM Imaku. And you'll find a variety of them and the different names, the different priestesses that they are. They're all based on African and Afro-Caribbean tradition. And you'll also find my music and more. So please visit my website at www.imaku.info. Duamu Shelia. Duau. And again, keep your head up, okay? All is not lost. We are more powerful than you realize. After all, we've already been through a lot, and we are not going backwards. We're not going backwards. We're moving forward. All right. And so, close by saying Meria, which means much love. Heri, which means be at peace. Teni, which means to be accountable. Jebewi, which means to be merciful and is also the discharge of a debt. But be very careful about how you wield the power of forgiveness. What does that exactly mean? That's a lesson for another day. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. I love you all. Excuse me. Reverend Tamu, can you just shoot me a text real quick? Okay. And Maria, I will look for your email. All right. Everyone take care. Have a wonderful night. Oh, and also, Sister Candy, can you please just send me a message just to let me know how you are, how your health is, and all of that, okay? All right. Much love to everyone.